Welcome back to Analysis with me, Oliver McTiernan. In today's programme, we've been looking at the impact of the ongoing attention on Birmingham schools caught up in the so-called Trojan horse plot. But earlier this month, senior sources in the Department of Education claim that coordinated attempts to undermine secular heads were suspected in at least 4 other places across the UK, including Bradford, Manchester, and the London boroughs of Waltham Forest and Tower Hamlets. Is there really a large-scale plot by Islamists to take over British schools? Or is this an all-out attack on Muslim values? Well, with me to discuss this here in the studio is Professor Gus John from the Institute of Education at the University of London, Masood Shajari, who is chair of the Islamic Human Rights Commission, and on the phone we have Stephen Evans from the National Secular Society and Faisal Khan, who's councillor in Bradford. Well, welcome to you all. And Faisal, I'd first of all like to come to you. Are these accusations about similar things happening in Bradford correct in your opinion?
Completely false. I mean, if you read the Andrew Gilligan article, he tries to make the link there, but it's quite irresponsible journalism on his part. It's factually incorrect, and it misquotes me in particular. The real story, I think it's about raising attainment. But you do raise an important question, really. If senior officials from the DfE think this is what's going on, then as the governing body that I was part of, we were removed earlier last month. So were we removed because of genuine concerns or some other ulterior motive? Because for me, it seems like it's not a Trojan horse, more like a Trojan donkey. It's the other way around. We have head teachers removing governing bodies, not the other way around.
Gus, head teachers removing governing bodies?
Well, the whole thing is very bizarre. And it has to do a great deal with how schools use their powers, the powers that they're actually given, and where accountability lies. Does accountability lie with the parents in the school? Are the governors truly representative of those parents? What part do the parents play in determining the ethos of the school and how curriculum is delivered and children assessed and the rest of it? Because you see, I used to be a director of education. And one of the things that puzzles me about all of that is this. Teachers go in front of classrooms and they teach children. Head teachers lead teaching teams. They are responsible overall for quality and for excellence in their schools. So I cannot for the life of me understand how a head teacher gets bypassed so that all kinds of nefarious things could be happening to our children in front of teachers, and the head teachers have no control over that. It's those processes and those accountabilities that puzzle me in this whole story.
Where did things go wrong? I mean, I recognise clearly what you said because for many years I was chair of governors of a school. Where do you think things went wrong in the whole educational system in the country?
Well, I think things went wrong when it was determined that local authorities should have no part at all to play in how schools are organised and run. I think things went wrong when it was determined that parents and parental choice, which I think is a myth, but still, should be, if you like, at the pinnacle of all of this. And certainly, when it was determined that schools should be privatized, so that you have a sort of board of a corporation, these academic chains, running particular schools, they could determine what curriculum they wanted to deliver. They're not bound by the national curriculum. So you have a situation where in a particular city or borough or whatever, there's a so-called family of schools, with some being able to do their own thing without any reference whatsoever to what the national curriculum requires, and others having to stick with that. It is chaotic. It is anarchic. and it does not allow for any accountability on people's part to an elected body of representatives whom we put in place to ensure that the safety of our children, the quality of their education is guaranteed.
Mahmoud, in the first part of our programme, we heard Bilal say that what was going on, this inquiry in particular, he was talking about Old Nook School, where his children are, has nothing to do with Islam or extremism.
No, absolutely. I mean, you know, with the exception of what is happening in tabloids and hoo-ha and witch hunt, which unfortunately is a witch hunt, a McCarthy-type witch hunt taking place. When you look into really what's going on, you see that majority of parents, by petitions and so forth, are supportive. They actually are concerned about the education quality that their children are getting, and they're happy with that. I totally agree that, you know, what we had, although it wasn't perfect, it was more accountable with local authorities having control rather than a bunch of quankos, you know, and companies coming and taking over, almost like running our prisons. You know, you hand it over to a group of people who could bet, better bet, and you know, that is not the way to go forward with education. Yes, there are other debates, including should religion have any role in education or not, and that I think that's a secondary to this. First of all, what we want is actually make sure that we get the best education to our children, and to have a level of choice by the parents, and indeed have control over our education of our children.
Stephen, would you recognise that there is a place for religion in our schools?
Well, I certainly think there's a place for objective and balanced education about religion in schools, but I certainly don't think schools should be viewed as places where religious dogma or practice should be imposed on pupils. But I broadly agree with what others have said in terms of local authority control, the loss of local authority control being a problem, but something in Birmingham has gone seriously wrong where schools are under local authority control. A previous person spoke about how he didn't understand how head teachers had been circumnavigated. Well, as far as I understand it, non-Muslim heads have actually left their jobs at 5 schools in Birmingham in the last 6 months. So there are serious allegations here, and these self-serving denials that anything is going wrong at all, they're what I find really surprising, because the allegations are widespread, they're serious. Ideas that they're Islamophobic is just ridiculous, because as I understand it, many of the allegations have come from Muslim parents themselves. We've got allegations of anti-Christian chanting,
Stephen,
banned, gender discrimination and segregation, bullying, creationist views being taught in schools, other extremist views. These are serious, and so it is absolutely right and proper that
not wishing to enter into speculation, but there may be other reasons why head teachers leave their jobs. It doesn't mean that they're under pressure from parents to promote a religious value or a particular religion. It may be that they're just under pressure to deliver in the general standards.
The broader pattern of what's gone on in Birmingham schools, and there's so much evidence now building up that it's almost inconceivable that some kind of plot hasn't been going on. But it is for Ofsted and the DfE to find out what's gone on, then investigate it, and I understand their report will be
inconceivable
I really take point on this, inconceivable. The reality is inconceivable that so many people actually leave their job and then the total silence until so-called unsigned, undated, letter goes in and everything goes hey-hi. Really, that is inconceivable, not the fact. I also think that Ofsted being involved in this, we already know Ofsted actually wants to remove the local authority sort of powers over running of the school. And here we go. Birmingham actually is one of the largest local authority. And there is agendas are being played here. And I think we need to be very careful that why is, sort of Islam is being used, because Islam is actually, there is a demonization culture now in our society. And it's very easy to sort of make a hoo-ha on this issue.
Faisal, how much does the local authority have control of the schools in Bradford?
I mean, a few schools have moved over to academy status. Each school will make a decision on its own sort of whatever reason it gives. I mean, the schools that I've been involved in, neither are academies. And just coming back to a couple of points made earlier, I think there's an assumption here things have gone wrong. Actually, I don't think things have gone wrong. I think what we've seen is a fake document that's been widely circulated. And where is the evidence? These are all anonymous allegations that are being made. People are hiding behind anonymity, making these allegations. I've had the same thing here. People making allegations. If people have got evidence, then let it come to the front. Why are people hiding? And this thing about head teachers, people complaining now. If people want to complain, there's a complaints procedure to follow within these schools and within the local authority. People haven't gone down that particular route, and it all seems very vexatious, really, in the way it's being carried out.
Gus, you've long experience in this field. Do you think this type of inquiry that is being set up will ever get to the bottom of the allegations that are being made, whether they have substance or not?
Well, I don't know. It would be interesting to see what Ofsted comes up with. My worry is that whatever is found in relation to this particular matter, there is going to be a focus on what is actually happening to Muslim children in different parts of the country, how schools are actually run, whether those who ought to be aspiring to be head teachers from the Muslim community would want to do so is another question. But I would invite people to remember that it is children and their education and their futures and their life chances that matter in this, not the politics of Mr. Gove or whatever else, or for that matter, the government's prevent agenda. I am absolutely sure that it is possible to run schools appropriately, giving the best opportunity for children to realize their potential, and with sound leadership and management in those schools, ensuring that the objectives of learning can be achieved. It's not nuclear science, and it seems to me that as someone, I think Faisal was saying, there clearly are issues to do with leadership and management and human resource issues within some of those schools, which have got to be kept separate, in my view, from this moral panic about Islam.
But Stephen, doesn't Gus make a fair point there?
Sorry, a fair point.
That it's essentially about resources and management of resources and management style. It's not about Islam.
Well, I don't know. Until we see the report that comes out in June where these allegations are properly scrutinised, we'll find out whether the allegations have been substantiated or not. Yes, I do think there are. If you're losing so many head teachers in such a short period of time, there are clearly problems in organisation and structure. And the idea that parents should be driving what goes on in schools, I find that very problematic. Schools have a wider duty to society, and I think children have autonomous rights as well, which need to be remembered. So we should be looking to give children the best education possible, and it is so depressing that that politics and squabbles and it seems that religious leaders, community leaders, are trying to impose their values and practices in schools, and that is just so depressing.
Every day.
I feel so sorry for
I
British Muslims who, again, have their faith dragged through the papers in a very negative way. I don't think we should blame the media for that, though. I think we should first and foremost blame those that wish to impose their beliefs on us.
Look, Stephen, leave your sort of secular prejudice to one side. Look at it in a light that these schools actually achieved what many schools are failing. The most deprived section of the society getting real education. I mean, for God's sake, listen to the parents, look at the actual statistic, and this is something we should celebrate. Now, if you have got an issue which religion should not take part in education, that's a wider issue. Don't jump on the Islamophobic aspect. There are Christian schools, there are actually assemblies by law that have to have a religious theos. And so if you have a problem, no, let me just finish. If you have a problem with religion, then tackle it as a whole. Don't jump on the bandwagon of Islamophobic tabloids trying to prove your point. I mean, I respect as a secular society, you do have a view.
I'm afraid the charge of Islamophobia simply doesn't stand up. We've campaigned longer than anyone else to get Christian assemblies removed from the law.
I think can I just come in, Stephen? I think in fairness to Masood, he wasn't making accusation against you of Islamophobia or the secular society. It was more the campaign in some
I was
the
saying that the culture
press.
is Islamophobic. Don't ride that culture. Actually, I think there is an argument, a valid argument for secular society to have over religion in the schools, and it's fine. But then also, there is a huge number of us who are taxpayers, and we want to have our ethos to be reflected as much as the Christians or the Jewish community or anyone else.
Well, I absolutely think all parents' rights should be respected in schools, but I don't think Muslim parents, just as Christian parents or atheist parents, should expect their beliefs to be promoted in schools. What we need is inclusive schools that welcome children of all religious backgrounds, and they're taught in a religiously neutral environment where they're taught common, shared values and not religion-specific values. I don't think that's the role of the state.
Once you remove the religion from the school, then it becomes secular. And then, you're saying that, the reality is people should be given the choice. And many taxpayers actually do want a different thing than a secular education.
Faisal, how do you, as a councillor, try to ensure that people are given choice in your own educational system in Bradford?
Well, picking up on the point, actually, I don't think it's about imposing values. It's about meeting the needs of the children that go to the school. So if they're 96% Muslim, then you are meeting their needs. And I think it's a misnomer to say they're secular schools. They're not secular schools, and it's not even about the ethos. It's about just meeting the needs of these children, and it's within the law at the moment. So I think governors are being penalised by, for actually just following the law. Parliament sets law, governors follow it. So this is what we do here in Bradford. We meet the needs, whether the Muslim children, Hindu, Jewish, it's all about meeting their needs. So whether it's halal food or prayer facilities or, something to do with the uniform, this isn't imposing anything. This is just meeting the needs. And just coming back onto attainment, look, the main issue in schools is around attainment. Schools in inner city areas perform really, really poorly. The fact that Parkview has done something remarkable is taking a school from 5% to 75%, well above national average for kids from quite a deprived sort of background. Now, that's the real story. You won't find another school like it in the whole of England with the same kind of background of children. Now, if we're going to start removing governors that have done such a remarkable job, I think that leaves us in a really poor state.
Well, I'm sure this is a discussion that will go on long after the publication of the inquiry report. But I'd like now to thank our guests on the line, Stephen and Faisal, and here in the studio, Masood and Gus. Thank you so much for contributing and helping us to understand some of the core issues in this current controversy. Thank you.